She didn't know why she'd accepted the invitation. The card had arrived at her hotel room 3 days ago, embossed in gold, no return address. Just a location, a time, and a single line that made her stomach twist. "Have you ever been to Epstein Island?" The question itself felt like a trap. But Emily Brooks had built her career on walking into places other journalists feared to tread, and tonight would be no different. She stood now in a marble ballroom that cost more than her entire life, surrounded by people who could buy countries, watching a man across the room whose eyes had found her the moment she entered and hadn't looked away since. Giovanni Santoro, Mafia king, billionaire, monster dressed in Armani. And the way he was staring at her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning made something dangerous wake up inside her chest. Something that felt like recognition, like fate, like the kind of trouble you don't survive. Welcome to Mafia Hometale Besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. My dream is to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of this month. I believe together we can achieve. Thank you. Emily had done her research. 3 weeks of digging through classified files, testimony transcripts, offshore account records. Giovanni Santoro owned half of New York's real estate, controlled shipping routes from Naples to Manhattan, and had never been convicted of a single crime despite being investigated 17 times. He was 42. She was 28. He was untouchable. She was a freelance investigative journalist barely making rent. And yet when their eyes met across the champagne fountain, the entire room seemed to vanish. Giovanni didn't approach immediately. He watched her the way predators watch prey, patient and certain. Emily forced herself to breathe normally, to accept a glass of wine from a passing waiter, to pretend her pulse wasn't racing. She was here for a story, nothing more. The gala was hosted by one of Giovanni's shell corporations, a charity event that laundered money as efficiently as it laundered reputations. Emily had secured her invitation through a source who owed her a favor. She wore a borrowed black dress that hugged every curve she'd spent years hatting, her dark hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked like she belonged, even though she didn't. The man beside her introduced himself as Marcus Chen, a tech investor with kind eyes and an easy smile. He was handsome in that safe, approachable way. He asked about her work. She gave vague answers. And across the room, Giovanni's jaw tightened imperceptibly. Emily didn't notice. Not yet. Later that evening, she found herself on the terrace, needing air. The city sprawled below, glittering and indifferent. She gripped the railing, trying to focus. This story could change everything. Giovanni Santoro's empire, his connections, the island reference that had haunted her since the invitation arrived. If she could prove he'd been involved in trafficking, in exploitation, in any of the darkness the rumors suggested. "You're Emily Brooks." The voice came from behind her, smooth as whiskey and just as dangerous. Emily turned slowly. Giovanni stood 3 feet away, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Up close, he was even more devastating. Dark hair threaded with silver at the temples, eyes the color of espresso, sharp and assessing. A mouth that looked like it knew exactly how to destroy a woman. He was tall, broad-shouldered, radiating power like heat. "And you're Giovanni Santoro," Emily replied, keeping her voice steady. "Should I be honored or terrified?" His lips curved slightly. "Both, probably." The way he said it, low and certain, sent a shiver down her spine. Emily straightened, refusing to be intimidated. "Is this where you threaten me, tell me to stop asking questions?" Giovanni tilted his head. "I haven't decided yet." The honesty surprised her. Most men in his position would deny deflect charm. Giovanni just looked at her like he was solving a puzzle, like she was the most interesting thing he'd encountered in years. "I read your article on the Morty family," he continued. "Brave, reckless, beautifully written." Emily blinked. "You read my work. I read everything about you." The admission should have terrified her. Instead, heat pooled low in her stomach. Giovanni stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, cedar, and smoke. "Why are you here, Emily?" She met his gaze directly. "Why did you invite me?" The air between them crackled. Giovanni's eyes dropped to her mouth, then back up. "I didn't send that invitation." Emily's breath caught. "Then who did?" "Someone who wants to see what happens when you and I are in the same room." His voice had gone quieter, more intimate. "Someone who understands chemistry." Emily's pulse hammered. "Chemistry?" Giovanni leaned in just slightly, close enough that she could feel the heat of him. "Tell me you don't feel it." She should have stepped back, should have laughed it off. Instead, she heard herself whisper, "I feel it." The confession hung between them like a lit match. Giovanni's hand lifted, almost unconsciously, as if to touch her face. Then he stopped himself, jaw tightening. "You should leave." Emily frowned. "Why?" "Because if you stay, I won't be able to stop myself." The raw honesty in his voice made her knees weak. Emily swallowed hard. "Stop yourself from what?" Giovanni's eyes burned. "From making you mine." The next day, Emily couldn't focus. She sat in her cramped studio apartment, surrounded by files and half-drunk coffee, replaying every second of their conversation. The way he'd looked at her, the promise in his voice, the restraint that had felt like violence held in check. She should have been scared, should have been writing the exposé. Instead, she was Googling his name like a teenager with a crush. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Ms. Brooks." Giovanni's voice filled her ear, smooth and commanding. "How did you get this number?" Emily demanded, even as warmth flooded her chest. "I told you, I know everything about you." There was a pause. "Are you alone?" Emily glanced around her empty apartment. "Yes." "Good." The word carried weight. "I'm sending a car. Be ready in 30 minutes. Emily should have refused, should have hung up. Instead, she found herself asking, "Where are we going?" Giovanni's voice softened slightly. "Somewhere we can talk without interruption. And if I say no, then I'll respect that." He sounded like he meant it. "But I hope you won't." Emily closed her eyes, knowing this was a mistake. 30 minutes, she heard herself say. The car that arrived was sleek and black, driven by a man who didn't speak. Emily wore jeans and a sweater, refusing to dress up. This wasn't a date. It was research. Professional. She kept telling herself that as they drove through the city, leaving Manhattan behind, heading north into countryside she didn't recognize. They arrived at a villa that looked like it belonged in Tuscany. Rolling hills, vineyards, stone architecture. Emily stepped out, bewildered. "Where are we?" "My home," Giovanni said, appearing from the house. He changed into dark jeans and a white button-down, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked almost normal, almost. "I don't go to strangers' houses," Emily said, even though she was already here. Giovanni's mouth quirked. "I'm not a stranger. You're a crime lord." Allegedly. The way he said it, teasing and dark, made her want to smile. Inside, the villa was warm and lived in. Books on shelves, art on walls, a fire crackling in the massive stone fireplace. It didn't match the image she'd built of him. "You're disappointed," Giovanni observed, watching her take it in. Emily turned. "I expected something colder, more intimidating. Would you prefer chains and dungeons?" His tone was dry. Despite herself, Emily laughed. "Maybe a few intimidating statues." Giovanni moved to the bar, poured 2 glasses of wine without asking. He handed her one. "I brought you here because the city has ears. Here we can be honest." Emily accepted the glass, their fingers brushing. The contact sparked. "Honest about what?" "About why you're really investigating me." Giovanni's gaze held hers. "It's not just for a story." Emily's defenses rose. "You don't know that. You've had 3 chances to publish what you've found. You haven't." He stepped closer. "Why?" "Because every time she tried to write it, she saw his face, heard his voice, felt that pull." Emily set her glass down carefully. "Maybe I'm waiting for more evidence." "Or maybe," Giovanni said softly, "you're waiting to understand who I really am." The accuracy of that statement stole her breath. Giovanni continued, voice low. "I'm not a good man, Emily. I've done things that would horrify you, but I'm not what you think I am either." "Then what are you?" Emily challenged. Giovanni looked at her with an intensity that made her feel transparent. "Someone who's been waiting his entire life without knowing what for." He paused. "Until I saw you." Emily's heart hammered. "That's insane." "I know. We just met. I know. This isn't real." Giovanni stepped closer, so close she had to tilt her head back to hold his gaze. "Then why does it feel like I've known you forever?" Emily couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Giovanni's hand lifted slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His fingers brushed her cheek, gentle as prayer. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. Emily's eyes fluttered closed. "I should, but you won't." His thumb traced her lower lip. "Because you feel it too." When Emily opened her eyes, Giovanni was looking at her like she was the answer to a question he'd never asked, like she was salvation and destruction wrapped in one body. Like he would burn the world down just to keep her warm. "This is a bad idea," Emily breathed. Giovanni's smile was slow, dangerous. "The best things usually are." When he kissed her, it felt like falling and flying at the same time. His mouth was sure and claiming, one hand tangling in her hair, the other spanning her waist. Emily melted into him, all her questions dissolving into pure sensation. He tasted like wine and promise, kissed her like she was precious and essential and his. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Giovanni rested his forehead against hers. "Stay tonight!" It wasn't a command. It was a plea. Emily knew she should leave, should run, should protect herself. Instead, she heard herself whisper, "Okay." Following morning, Emily woke in a bed larger than her entire apartment, wrapped in sheets that probably cost more than her car. Sunlight streamed through massive windows. She was alone. For a moment, she let herself remember. Giovanni's hands reverent and demanding, his voice in her ear raw with need. The way he'd looked at her after, like she'd altered his entire existence. Then reality crashed in. She'd slept with her subject, compromised every professional ethic she had. Emily sat up, panicking. A note lay on the pillow beside her. "I had to handle something. Make yourself at home. We'll talk when I return." Gee, the casual assumption that she'd wait made Emily's temper flare. She dressed quickly, called a car service, and left before he could return. Back in the city, Emily tried to focus. She had notes to review, sources to contact. Instead, she stared at her laptop screen, seeing nothing. Her phone rang constantly. Giovanni, she didn't answer. By the third day, he stopped calling. The silence felt worse. That evening, there was a knock on her door. Emily opened it to find a woman in her 60s, elegant and sharp-eyed. "Ms. Brooks, I'm Sophia Santoro, Giovanni's aunt." Emily's stomach dropped. "How did you— May I come in?" Sophia's tone suggested it wasn't really a question. Inside, Sophia studied Emily with the same intensity Giovanni had. "My nephew is not an easy man to know," she began, "but he's a good one, better than the world deserves." Emily crossed her arms. "Why are you here?" "Because Giovanni hasn't eaten or slept in 3 days, because he's terrified he scared you away, because despite everything he is, he's never felt this way about anyone." Sophia's gaze softened. "And because I think you feel the same." Emily's throat tightened. "It's complicated." "Love always is," Sophia said simply, "especially when it finds you before you're ready." She stood, moving to the door. "He won't chase you, Emily. His pride won't allow it, but that doesn't mean he isn't breaking." After Sophia left, Emily sat in the dark, her mind racing. She thought about Giovanni's hands in her hair, his voice saying her name like a prayer, the way he'd held her after, like she was the only solid thing in his world. The next morning, Emily made a decision. She showed up at Giovanni's office building, told the receptionist her name, and waited. 5 minutes later, she was escorted to the top floor. Giovanni stood by the windows, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city. He didn't turn when she entered. "You left," he said quietly. "I panicked," Emily admitted. Giovanni turned then, and the rawness in his face nearly broke her. "Did I hurt you?" "No," she stepped closer. "You terrified me." His jaw tightened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." Emily took another step. "You terrified me because I felt it too. Everything you said, everything I tried to deny." Giovanni's expression shifted, hope warring with caution. "Emily, I'm scared," she interrupted. "I'm scared of what you do, of who you are, of how fast this is happening, but I'm more scared of walking away." Giovanni crossed to her in 3 strides, cupping her face with both hands. "Then don't." When he kissed her this time, it felt like a promise, like commitment, like the beginning of something that couldn't be undone. "I need you to know something," Giovanni said against her lips. "Whatever you've heard about me, whatever you think I am, when I'm with you, I'm just a man who's hopelessly in love." Emily's breath caught. "Giovanni, I know it's too soon, I know it's insane, but it's true." He pulled back to look at her. "You've been under my skin since the moment I saw you, and I don't want you out." Emily kissed him again, pouring everything she couldn't say into it. When they broke apart, Giovanni rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me, not just tonight, really stay." "What about my work?" Emily asked. "What about your independence?" Giovanni smiled slightly. "I'm not asking you to give up anything, I'm asking you to add me to your life." The distinction mattered. Emily nodded slowly. "Okay, okay, okay," she repeated, stronger this time. Giovanni's smile was brilliant. "Then let me take you home." The following weeks blurred into a happiness Emily hadn't known existed. Giovanni respected her work, never pressured her about the investigation she'd temporarily shelved. Instead, he showed her his world piece by piece. The legitimate businesses, the charitable foundations, the people who depended on him. He was still dangerous, still powerful, but he was also surprisingly gentle, thoughtful. He remembered how she took her coffee, bought her favorite books without being asked, showed up at her apartment with dinner when she worked late. The first time Emily saw him lose his temper was at a restaurant. Marcus Chen, the investor from the gala, approached their table with that same easy smile. "Emily, I've been hopping to run into you." Giovanni went very still beside her. "Marcus," Emily said politely, "this is Giovanni Santoro." Marcus's smile faltered slightly as he recognized the name. "Right. Well, Emily, if you ever want to grab coffee, talk about that profile you mentioned. She's not available." Giovanni's voice was quiet, deadly. Marcus blinked. You were just leaving," Giovanni finished. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Marcus looked at Emily, who gave him an apologetic smile. "Another time, maybe." After Marcus left, Giovanni's hand found Emily's under the table, gripping tight. "I'm sorry." "For what?" Emily asked. "I didn't like how he looked at you." Giovanni's jaw was tight. "I didn't like him assuming he had access to you." Emily turned her hand in his, lacing their fingers. "I'm not interested in Marcus." "I know." Giovanni looked almost embarrassed. "I still hated it." The possessiveness should have bothered her. Instead, it made warmth pool in her stomach. Later that night in Giovanni's penthouse, Emily straddled his lap on the couch, his hands spanning her waist. "Are you always this jealous?" she teased. Giovanni's eyes darkened. "Only with you." "Why?" "Because you're mine." He said it like fact, like gravity. "And I don't share." Emily's breath hitched. Giovanni's hands tightened. "Tell me that bothers you." Emily kissed him instead, deep and claiming. When she pulled back, she whispered, "It doesn't." Giovanni groaned, pulling her closer. "You're going to destroy me." "Good," Emily breathed against his mouth. "You destroyed me first." What followed was heat and need and whispered confessions. Giovanni worshipped every curve she'd spent years hiding, made her feel beautiful and necessary, and wanted in ways she'd never imagined. They came together like a storm, all thunder and lightning and inevitable destruction. After, wrapped in his arms, Emily felt safer than she ever had. Giovanni's hand traced patterns on her bare shoulder. "I need to tell you something." Emily tensed slightly. "Okay." "The invitation you received." The question about the island. Giovanni's voice was careful. "It was a test." Emily sat up, pulling the sheet with her. "What kind of test?" "Someone's trying to destroy me. They sent that invitation to see if you'd investigate, if you'd publish, if you'd expose things that don't exist." His eyes held hers. "I've never been to that island, never participated in anything like that, but someone wants the world to think I have." Emily's journalist instincts kicked in. "Who?" "I don't know yet." Giovanni sat up too, cupping her face. "But I need you to trust me. Everything I've built, everything I am, it's not that, I'm not that." Emily searched his eyes, seeing only truth. "I believe you." Relief flooded his face. "Thank you." "But Giovanni," Emily touched his chest, feeling his heartbeat. "If someone's targeting you, that means I'm a target too now." Giovanni's expression went hard. "No one touches you, ever." The next day, Emily learned what that promise meant. She was leaving her apartment when a black SUV pulled up. Two men in suits stepped out. "Ms. Brooks, Mr. Santoro has asked us to escort you." Emily frowned. "I'm fine walking." "Please, Ms. Brooks." The older man's tone was respectful but firm. Mr. Santoro insisted. Emily realized resistance was futile. Giovanni had assigned her protection without asking. When she called him, he answered immediately. "Are you serious?" Emily demanded. "Bodyguards?" "Yes," no apology. "Giovanni, I can't work with people following me around." "Then they'll be discreet." His voice softened. "Emily, please, someone sent you that invitation for a reason. Until I know who and why, I need to know you're safe." Emily wanted to argue, but she heard the real fear underneath his control. "Fine, but they stay in the car." "Deal." Relief colored his voice. "Thank you." "You're impossible," Emily muttered. "And you're mine," Giovanni replied. "Which means I protect you." The certainty in his voice made her stomach flutter. "I love you too," she said, mostly to annoy him. Giovanni laughed, warm and surprised. "Good, because I'm absolutely in love with you." A few days later, Emily received another message. This one came directly to her work email. "Ask Giovanni about the warehouse on Pier 17. Ask him about the girls." Emily's blood ran cold. She forwarded it to Giovanni immediately. Within an hour, he was at her office, face carved from stone. "It's a lie," he said flatly. "Then what's at Pier 17? Emily asked. Giovanni hesitated. "Storage, legitimate import goods." "Can I see it?" "Emily, if you want me to trust you, show me." Her eyes held his. "Prove whoever's doing this is lying." Giovanni stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Tonight. That evening, Giovanni drove them to the waterfront himself. The warehouse was exactly what he'd said, industrial, boring, filled with shipping containers and paperwork, nothing sinister. Emily felt relief and guilt in equal measure. I'm sorry, she said as they walked back to the car. Don't be. Giovanni caught her hand. You were being a journalist, I respect that. Even when I didn't trust you. Especially then. He pulled her close. I don't want blind faith, Emily. I want you to know me, really know me, and choose me anyway. Emily kissed him hard, pouring everything into it. When they broke apart, Giovanni's eyes were dark with need. Home, he murmured against her mouth. Now, the drive back was torture. Giovanni's hand stayed on her thigh, thumb tracing maddening circles. Emily's breath came short. Inside his penthouse, they didn't make it past the entryway. Giovanni pressed her against the wall, kissing her like she was air and he was drowning. I love you, he breathed between kisses. God, Emily, I love you. Show me, Emily gasped. And he did. The following morning, Emily woke to an empty bed again. But this time, there was no panic. She found Giovanni in the kitchen, shirtless, making coffee with endearing incompetence. You're awake, he said, smiling. Emily wrapped her arms around him from behind. You're domestic. Only for you. He turned in her embrace. And I'm terrible at it. Emily laughed. I noticed. They stood like that, wrapped in each other, sunlight streaming through the windows. For a moment, everything felt perfect. Then Giovanni's phone rang. He glanced at it, expression shifting. I have to take this. Emily nodded, pouring herself coffee while he stepped away. She heard his voice go hard and cold, the tone he used for business. When he returned, his face was carefully blank. What's wrong? Emily asked. Giovanni pulled her close. Nothing you need to worry about. Giovanni, I mean it. He kissed her forehead. I handle the darkness, you stay in the light. The distinction bothered her, but Emily let it go. For now. That afternoon, while Giovanni was in meetings, Emily returned to her apartment to work. Her editor had been patient, but she needed to deliver something soon. She was reviewing notes when her phone buzzed. A photo. Emily's stomach dropped. It showed her and Giovanni at the warehouse, clearly intimate, unmistakably together. The caption read, How thorough is your investigation, Ms. Brooks? Emily's hands shook. Someone was watching them, had been watching them. The implication was clear. Her relationship with Giovanni compromised everything. She called him immediately. Someone sent me a photo of us at the warehouse. Giovanni's voice went deadly quiet. Forward it to me. Emily did. She heard him typing, then cursing softly in Italian. I'm coming to get you. Giovanni, I can just... Now, Emily. His tone left no room for argument. Marco's already on his way. 15 minutes later, Emily was in the back of an SUV with Marco, the head of Giovanni's security. They didn't speak. At Giovanni's office, she was ushered directly into his private conference room. Giovanni paced like a caged predator, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. When he saw her, relief flooded his face. He ended the call and pulled her into his arms. Are you okay? I'm fine, Emily said against his chest. Just shaken. Giovanni's arms tightened. This ends now. What do you mean? Emily pulled back to look at him. Giovanni's expression was carved from granite. Whoever's doing this, they've crossed a line. Threatening me is one thing, involving you is unforgivable. What are you going to do? Emily asked, though part of her didn't want to know. Giovanni cupped her face. What I should have done weeks ago, and this. The cold finality in his voice sent chills down her spine. This was the man the world feared, the man she'd tried to investigate. And he was unleashing himself for her. That night, Emily stayed at Giovanni's penthouse while he handled what he called cleanup. She tried to work to distract herself, but all she could think about was what Giovanni might be doing, who he might be hurting, whether the man she loved was capable of real violence. When he finally returned, it was past midnight. He looked exhausted, his shirt rumpled, a bruise forming on his jaw. Are you hurt? Emily rushed to him. Giovanni pulled her close. I'm fine. What happened? It's handled. He kissed her hair. You're safe, that's all that matters. Emily wanted to press, to demand answers, but the bone-deep weariness in his voice stopped her. Come to bed, she said instead. Morning, Emily woke to find Giovanni watching her, expression soft. I love you, he said simply. Emily's chest tightened. I love you too. I need you to know something. Giovanni's thumb traced her cheekbone. Everything I do, every choice I make, it's to protect you, to protect us. Even the dark things, Emily whispered. Especially those, his eyes held hers. I won't apologize for keeping you safe. Emily knew she should be scared, should question what he'd done. Instead, she felt protected, cherished. "Thank you," she breathed. Giovanni kissed her slow and deep. When he pulled back, his expression was serious. "I have something for you." He reached into the nightstand, pulled out a small box. Emily's heart stopped. "Giovanni, it's not what you think." He smiled slightly. "Open it." Inside was a key. Emily looked up, confused. "It's to this penthouse," Giovanni explained. "And to the villa and to my life." He took her hand. "Move in with me, Emily, really move in, make this our home." Emily's eyes filled. "Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything." Giovanni's voice was steady. "I want to wake up with you every morning, fall asleep with you every night, build a life with you." Emily threw her arms around him, laughing and crying at once. "Yes, yes." Giovanni pulled back, grinning. "Yes," Emily repeated. "Yes, I'll move in. Yes, I love you. Yes to everything." The move happened faster than Emily expected. Within days, her sparse belongings filled corners of Giovanni's penthouse, making it feel less like a museum and more like a home. He'd cleared closet space, rearranged shelves, made room for her in ways both literal and metaphorical. Emily caught herself smiling at odd moments, folding laundry beside him, grocery shopping like a normal couple, arguing over which coffee maker was superior. But normal was an illusion they both knew wouldn't last. The threats had stopped after Giovanni's intervention, but the tension underneath hadn't disappeared. Emily still didn't know exactly what he'd done to end them. Part of her didn't want to know. The journalist in her screamed that she was compromising everything. The woman in love didn't care. One morning, Emily woke to find Giovanni already dressed, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and urgent. She watched him pace, the sharp lines of his body tight with stress. When he ended the call, she sat up. "What's wrong?" Giovanni turned, expression carefully neutral. "Nothing I can't handle." Emily frowned. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now." He crossed to the bed, sat beside her. "I need you to trust me." "I do trust you." Emily touched his face. "But I also see you carrying everything alone." Giovanni leaned into her palm. "I'm used to it." "You don't have to be." She kissed him softly. "Let me help." "You help by existing," Giovanni murmured against her mouth. "By being here, by loving me when you shouldn't." Emily pulled back. "Why shouldn't I? Because I'm complicated, dangerous, because loving me means—" "I know what it means," Emily interrupted. "And I choose it anyway." Giovanni's eyes darkened with emotion. "You destroy me," he whispered. "Good." Emily kissed him harder. "You destroyed me first." Later that afternoon, Emily was working in Giovanni's home office when her laptop pinged. A new email. The subject line made her blood freeze. "The truth about Giovanni Santoro." Emily's finger hovered over it. Every journalistic instinct screamed to open it. Every personal instinct warned her it was poison. She opened it anyway. Inside were documents, photos, financial records, all suggesting Giovanni's involvement in trafficking operations spanning 3 continents. Emily's hands shook as she scrolled through. The evidence looked damning. Dates, locations, money transfers. Her stomach turned. This couldn't be real. She'd been with him for weeks now. She'd seen his life up close. This didn't match anything she knew about him. But what if she'd been wrong? What if love had blinded her? Emily sat frozen, mind racing. She needed to confront him, needed to hear him deny it, needed to see his face when she showed him this. But first, she needed to verify. She forwarded everything to a forensic analyst she trusted, then closed her laptop with shaking hands. Giovanni found her an hour later, still sitting in the same spot. "Emily," he touched her shoulder gently. "What's wrong?" Emily looked up at him, this man she loved, this man who terrified her, this man who might be exactly what the world said he was. "I need you to be honest with me." Giovanni's expression sharpened. "Always." Emily swallowed hard. "Have you ever been involved in human trafficking?" The question hung between them like a blade. Giovanni's face went absolutely still. When he spoke, his voice was deadly calm. "No." Emily wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to. "Someone sent me evidence, documents that say—" "Show me." Giovanni's tone left no room for argument. Emily pulled up the email on her laptop. Giovanni read through everything, expression darkening with each line. When he finished, he looked at her with something that might have been hurt. "You believed it." Not a question. "I didn't," Emily started. "You did." Giovanni's jaw tightened. "Even for a second you thought I could do that." "I don't know what to think." Emily stood, frustration and fear boiling over. I love you, but I barely know you. Your world is secrets and violence, and you think I buy and sell human beings. The cold fury in his voice made her flinch. Like I'm some kind of monster. Are you? Emily challenged, tears streaming now. Because sometimes I look at you, and I don't know. Giovanni stared at her, something breaking behind his eyes. Then you don't know me at all. He turned to leave. Giovanni, wait. I need space, he said without looking back. Before I say something I can't take back. The door closed behind him with devastating finality. Emily sank onto the couch, sobbing. She'd ruined it. Pushed too hard. Believed the worst. But what choice did she have? This was who she was, someone who questioned, who demanded truth, who couldn't just accept things on faith, even when faith was all she had left. Hours passed. Emily's analyst called back. These documents are fakes, she said bluntly. Good ones, but fakes. The metadata's been altered. Some of these photos are years old, photoshopped. Whoever made this wanted you to believe it, but it's not real. Relief and guilt crashed through Emily in equal measure. You're sure? Positive. This is a hit job. Someone's trying to destroy him by destroying your faith in him. After she hung up, Emily sat in the growing darkness, understanding what she'd done. Giovanni had opened himself to her completely, given her everything. And the first time she'd been tested, she'd failed. She needed to find him, make him understand. She tried his phone. It went to voicemail, tried his office. No answer. Finally, she called Marco. Where is he? Emily demanded. Marco hesitated. Mr. Santoro said he needed time alone. Please, Marco, I made a mistake. I need to fix it. A long pause, then, the villa, but Ms. Brooks, he's not in a good place right now. I know. Emily was already grabbing her coat. That's why I need to see him. The drive took 2 hours. Emily rehearsed what she'd say 1,000 times, discarding every version. How did you apologize for doubting someone at their core? For believing the worst when they'd given you their best? The villa was dark except for one light in the study. Emily let herself in with the key Giovanni had given her, following the glow. Giovanni stood by the windows, glass of whiskey in hand, staring out at nothing. He didn't turn when she entered. I told Marco I wanted to be alone. I know, Emily's voice was small, but I needed to see you. To accuse me of more crimes, the bitterness in his tone cut deep. To apologize, that made him turn. Emily saw the devastation on his face and nearly broke. The documents were fake. My analyst confirmed it. Someone manufactured everything to. I don't care about that. Giovanni's voice was hoarse. I care that you believed it, that when it mattered, you chose to doubt me. Emily's tears fell freely now. You're right, I did, and I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't. I was scared, Emily interrupted. Terrified that I'd been wrong about you, that love had made me stupid, that I'd compromised everything I am for someone who, she choked on the words. But I was wrong. The fake documents aren't what matters. What matters is that, in your world, I should have trusted you first and questioned later. Giovanni's expression flickered. In my world, trust is the only currency that matters. I know that now. Emily took a step closer. And I know I failed. But Giovanni, I'm human, flawed. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to doubt sometimes, even when I shouldn't. That doesn't mean I don't love you with everything I am. Giovanni set down his glass, jaw working. You scared me, Emily, when you looked at me like I was a monster. His voice cracked. I thought I'd lost you. You didn't. Emily crossed to him. You won't. I'm here. I'm sorry, and I'm begging you to forgive me. Giovanni pulled her into his arms roughly, desperately. Don't ever look at me like that again. I won't, Emily promised against his chest. I swear. And trust me. His hands fisted in her hair. Even when it's hard. Even when it doesn't make sense. Trust that I would never hurt you. Never be that person. Emily nodded, tears soaking his shirt. I trust you, I love you, I'm so sorry. Giovanni kissed her then, hard and claiming, like he needed to reassure himself she was real. Emily kissed back with everything she had, pouring apology and love and promise into it. When they broke apart, Giovanni rested his forehead against hers. I can't lose you, he whispered. You won't, Emily promised. I'm yours completely. What followed was desperate and raw. Giovanni made love to her like he was proving something, like he needed to reclaim what had almost been lost. Emily gave herself completely, showing him with body and breath what words couldn't convey. After, wrapped in sheets in each other, Giovanni traced patterns on her bare shoulder. The person sending those documents, they're escalating. Emily tensed. What do you mean? They want to separate us, destroy us from the inside. His voice was grim. Today almost worked. What are we going to do? Emily asked. Giovanni's arm tightened around her. We stand together. No matter what they send, what they say, we don't break. Promise me something, Emily said softly. Anything. Promise that we'll talk, really talk, when things get hard. When doubts creep in, we face them together instead of apart. Giovanni rolled to face her, eyes serious. I promise, no more running, no more silence. We face everything as a team. Emily sealed the vow with a kiss. Together, always, Giovanni agreed. The next morning, they returned to the city united. Giovanni's team had traced the fake documents to a rival family, one that had been trying to edge into Giovanni's territory for years. He handled it with cold efficiency Emily was learning to accept. This was his world. He protected what was his with absolute ruthlessness, and she was his. A week later, Emily published her first article since getting involved with Giovanni. Not about him, about corruption in city housing development. Her editor was thrilled. Giovanni read it over breakfast, pride clear on his face. You're brilliant, he said simply. Emily smiled. You have to say that, you're biased. I'm honest. Giovanni set down the paper. I always knew you were extraordinary. Now everyone else gets to see it too. That afternoon, Emily was leaving the newspaper office when a black sedan pulled up. Not Giovanni's car, not Marco. The window lowered to reveal a woman in her 50s, elegant and cold-eyed. Ms. Brooks, a moment of your time. Every instinct screamed danger. Who are you? Catherine DeLuca. I believe you know my nephew, Giovanni. Emily's blood chilled. Giovanni had mentioned his aunt once, dismissively. A viper in designer clothing, he'd called her. I'm late for, Emily started. This won't take long. Catherine's smile didn't reach her eyes. I simply wanted to congratulate you on domesticating our Giovanni. Very few have managed that. I haven't domesticated anyone. No, Catherine tilted her head. He softened considerably, distracted, making choices based on emotion rather than strategy, all because of you. If you have a problem with Giovanni, take it up with him. Emily turned to walk away. Before you go, Catherine called, you should know, loving Giovanni means accepting that people you care about become leverage. Does your mother still live in Boston? Your sister in Portland? Emily froze. Catherine's smile widened. I thought that might get your attention. See, Ms. Brooks, you're not just Giovanni's weakness now. You're everyone's opportunity. Are you threatening my family? Emily's voice shook with rage. I'm stating facts. Catherine's tone stayed pleasant. Giovanni has enemies, now so do you. And unlike Giovanni, you don't have an army to protect the people you love. Get away from me. Emily's hands clenched. Or I will tell Giovanni about this conversation and you can deal with him. Catherine laughed. Tell him. See how he reacts when he realizes loving you puts everyone in danger. See how long he lets it continue when people start getting hurt. The window rose and the car pulled away. Emily stood trembling on the sidewalk, Catherine's words echoing in her mind. She pulled out her phone, called her mother. Hi, sweetheart, what a nice surprise. Her mother's voice, warm and oblivious, made Emily's throat tight. Hi, Mom, I just wanted to hear your voice. That evening, Emily told Giovanni everything. He listened with growing fury, jaw tight. When she finished, he was silent for a long moment. She's right, he finally said. Emily's stomach dropped. What? You are a target now. Giovanni's voice was hollow. Everyone I care about becomes one. Then we protect them, Emily said firmly. We? How? Giovanni's eyes met hers and she saw real fear there. I can protect you because you're here with me, but your mother, your sister, friends, colleagues. How do I keep them all safe? We figure it out, Emily insisted. Together, remember. Giovanni ran a hand through his hair, looking older than she'd ever seen him. Maybe Catherine's right. Maybe loving me puts you in more danger than it's worth. Don't. Emily grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Don't you dare, we're not doing this. Emily, no. Her voice was fierce. I chose this, chose you, knowing the risks. I'm not walking away because it gets hard. Giovanni's hands covered hers. I couldn't survive if something happened to you because of me. Nothing's going to happen. Emily kissed him hard. Because you're too stubborn to let it. And so am I. Giovanni pulled her close, holding her like she might disappear. I love you so much it terrifies me. Good, Emily whispered. Love me scared, just don't stop loving me. Never, Giovanni promised. The following week, Giovanni quietly moved Emily's mother and sister to secure locations. Her mother thought it was a surprise vacation. Her sister knew better but didn't ask questions. Emily hated the deception, but Giovanni was right. Sometimes protection meant secrets. She threw herself into work, determined not to let fear control her life. Giovanni approved. "Don't change who you are because of me," he'd said. "Your strength is what I fell in love with." One evening, Emily was reviewing notes when Giovanni's phone rang. She heard his tone shift, going cold and hard. When he ended the call, his expression was carved from stone. "What happened?" Emily asked. "Someone took Marco." Giovanni's voice was deadly calm. "One of Catherine's people, they're demanding I meet them, alone." Emily's blood ran cold. "It's a trap." "Of course it is." Giovanni was already moving, grabbing weapons Emily tried not to think about. "Which is why you're staying here." "Absolutely not." Emily followed him. "You can't go alone. I can't bring you into danger." Giovanni turned, eyes fierce. "Emily, please, for once just let me protect you my way." "Marco's family," Emily said quietly. "I know. And they took him because of me." "This isn't, it is." Emily's voice was steady. "Catherine's making her move, using the people we love as weapons, so we show her it won't work. We get Marco back, together." Giovanni stared at her, jaw working. "If something happens to you, it won't." Emily loaded conviction into her voice. "Because you'll be there, we both will." Giovanni's resolve cracked. He pulled her into his arms. "You're impossible." "You love it," Emily murmured. "I hate it," Giovanni said against her hair. "But yes, I love it." They went together. The warehouse Catherine had chosen was predictably isolated. Giovanni's backup team surrounded it silently while Emily and Giovanni approached the front entrance. "Stay behind me," Giovanni ordered. "No matter what happens." Emily nodded, trusting him. Inside, Marco was tied to a chair, bloodied but alive. Catherine stood beside him, gun in hand. "Giovanni, right on time, and you brought your pet reporter. How touching." "Let him go," Giovanni said calmly. "This is between us." "Oh, I think Ms. Brooks has become very relevant." Catherine's smile was cold. "Tell me, Giovanni, would you trade your empire for her, your power, everything you've built?" "Yes," Giovanni said without hesitation. The simple certainty in his voice stole Emily's breath. Catherine's expression shifted, something like respect crossing her face. "You actually mean that?" "I do," Giovanni confirmed. "But you're not getting either. You're letting Marco go, standing down and disappearing. Or I end this now." Catherine laughed. "You can't touch me, family rules. Were written by people who didn't know what I'd become," Giovanni interrupted, voice dropping to something terrifying. "Try me, Catherine, see what happens when you threaten the people I love." The temperature in the room plummeted. Catherine's confidence wavered. She looked at Emily. "He'll destroy you eventually, men like Giovanni always do." "Then I'll die knowing I was loved," Emily said clearly. "Which is more than you'll ever have." Catherine's face contorted with rage. Her gun lifted toward Emily. Everything happened at once. Giovanni moved, covering Emily's body with his. A shot rang out. Emily screamed, but it wasn't Giovanni who fell. Catherine crumpled, her weapon clattering away. One of Giovanni's men lowered his gun from the shadows, expression grim. "Marco," Giovanni barked, already moving. His team cut Marco free while Giovanni turned to Emily, checking her frantically. "Are you hurt? Did she?" "I'm fine," Emily gasped. You covered me." "Always," Giovanni said roughly. "I'll always cover you." Emily threw her arms around him, shaking. Giovanni held her tight, breathing hard. Catherine was still alive, being restrained by his men. Giovanni approached her slowly. "You're done," he said quietly. "Finished in this city, in this family, everywhere." Catherine spat at him. "You've gone soft, weak, all for some girl." "The love of my life," Giovanni corrected. "And she made me stronger than you could ever understand." He turned to his men. "Get her out of here, I don't want to see her again." As Catherine was dragged away, cursing, Giovanni returned to Emily. Marco was on his feet now. Battered but grinning. "Thanks for the rescue, boss." "Thank Emily," Giovanni said. "She insisted on coming." Marco's gaze shifted to Emily with newfound respect. "Thank you, Ms. Brooks." "It's just Emily," she said softly. "And your family, we don't leave family behind." The drive back to the city was quiet. Emily leaned against Giovanni, his arm around her shoulders. "You could have been killed," he said finally. "So could you." Emily looked up at him. "That's what this life is, isn't it? Constant risk, constant danger, but we face it together." Giovanni kissed her forehead. "You scare me." "Good," Emily said. "You terrify me, we're even." Giovanni's laugh was soft and surprised. "How did I ever deserve you?" "You didn't," Emily teased. "But you're stuck with me now." Back at the penthouse, they held each other in the darkness. Giovanni's hands traced her body like he was reassuring himself she was real, whole, safe. "Marry me," he said suddenly. Emily's breath caught. "What? Marry me?" Giovanni's voice was urgent now. I don't have a ring, I don't have a plan, but I can't wait anymore. I need you to be my wife. Officially, legally, permanently. Emily's eyes filled. Giovanni, I know it's fast, I know we haven't even been together 6 months, but Emily, I've never been more certain of anything. He cupped her face. Marry me, build a life with me, have a family with me, choose me forever. Emily's tears spilled over. Yes, yes. Giovanni's smile was brilliant. Yes, Emily repeated, laughing and crying at once. Yes, I'll marry you, yes to everything. Giovanni kissed her deeply, thoroughly, like sealing a vow. When they broke apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he whispered. More than I knew it was possible to love anyone. I love you too, Emily said, even though you're impossible and dangerous and… Yours, Giovanni finished. Completely yours. The wedding happened fast, a small ceremony at the villa with only close family and friends. Emily wore simple white, Giovanni wore black, and when they exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. I, Giovanni Santoro, take you, Emily Brooks, to be my wife, he said, voice steady. I promise to protect you, honor you, challenge you, and love you with everything I am, for all my days. Emily's voice shook slightly. I, Emily Brooks, take you, Giovanni Santoro, to be my husband. I promise to trust you, support you, stand beside you, and love you through every storm. Forever. When the priest pronounced them married, Giovanni kissed her like he was claiming her soul. The applause was deafening. Later, at the reception, Giovanni pulled Emily onto the dance floor. Mrs. Santoro, he murmured. How does it feel? Perfect, Emily said honestly. Terrifying and perfect. Giovanni spun her gently. Any regrets? Only that I didn't say yes faster. She looked up at him. What about you? My only regret, Giovanni said seriously, is every moment I lived before you. 3 months later, Emily discovered she was pregnant. She told Giovanni in the kitchen of their villa, nervous despite everything. He stared at her for a long moment, expression unreadable. Then he dropped to his knees, pressing his face against her still flat stomach. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for giving me everything. Emily ran her fingers through his hair, her own eyes wet. We made this together. Giovanni looked up at her, and the love in his face was almost overwhelming. I'm going to be a father. The best father, Emily confirmed. Fierce and protective and impossibly loving. Giovanni stood, pulling her into his arms. I never thought I'd have this, a family, real love, a future worth protecting. You have it now, Emily said. We both do. Giovanni's hand settled over her stomach, reverent and possessive. I will protect you both with my life. I know, Emily whispered. That's what scares me sometimes. Don't be scared. Giovanni's voice was certain. Be loved, be cherished, be mine. Emily kissed him softly. Always. 9 months later, Emily held their daughter while Giovanni looked at them both like they'd hung the moon. She's perfect, he breathed. Like her mother. Emily smiled, exhausted and happy. She has your eyes. Poor thing, Giovanni said, but his voice was thick with emotion. Their daughter wrapped her tiny hand around his finger and Giovanni's face crumbled. I love you both so much. We love you too, Emily said softly. And there, in the quiet hospital room with their new family wrapped in love and possibility, Emily thought about the question that had started everything. Have you ever been to Epstein Island? The threat, the warning, the test that had brought them together. She'd walked into danger and found love instead. She'd questioned everything and chosen trust. She'd been scared and brave and impossibly lucky. Giovanni looked at her then as if reading her thoughts. What are you thinking about? How a wrong question led to the right answer, Emily said. Giovanni's smile was slow and warm. The best things usually start that way. He kissed her, soft and sweet, their daughter between them. And Emily knew with absolute certainty that she'd made the right choice. Every time, every moment, every risk. Because love, real love, was worth every danger, every doubt, every fear. And Giovanni Santoro, Mafia king and devoted father, was hers. Completely. Forever, just as she was his. Outside, the world continued its chaos. But here, in this room, wrapped in family and future and fierce, unbreakable love, Emily Brooks Santoro had everything she'd never known she wanted. And she'd fight to keep it, just as hard as Giovanni would fight to protect it. Together, always together, the way it was always meant to be.